So you've learned the most essential things that you need to know for bluegrass rhythm guitar. Now let's talk about bluegrass lead guitar. So let's start by going over some open scale shapes. And bluegrass music likes to use open strings in its solos. So open scale shapes are really ideal because you get the most open strings when you use those. So let's start out by learning a C major scale that uses as many open strings as possible. Come down here and play the C note on the 3rd fret of the 5th string. Then you're going to play the open D string, 2nd and 3rd fret. Open G string, 2nd fret of the G string. Open B string, and then the 1st and 3rd frets with your 1st and 3rd fingers. And the exact same pattern on the high E string. So the open high E string, 1st fret with your 1st finger, 3rd fret with your 3rd finger. And you can also grab the notes below, don't forget about those. So you have this C note that you started on, you can grab the 2nd fret of the A string with your 2nd finger, open A string, 3rd fret of the E string with your 3rd finger, and the 1st fret with your 1st finger, and then finally the open E string. So that whole scale will sound like this. So mess around with that open C scale and get used to it. It feels a little bit different because you have all those open strings in there. And one thing to keep in mind when you're picking through all of these notes on an acoustic guitar, the tension on the guitar strings on an acoustic guitar is a lot greater. So you can kind of tend to tense up to get volume out of those strings. Be careful with that. Don't get too tense, otherwise your hand might get sore. Now let's take a look at an open G major scale. We're going to start down here on the 3rd fret of the low E string with our 3rd finger. Play that note. Then you're going to play the open A string in the 2nd and 3rd frets with your 2nd and 3rd fingers. Then you're going to move to the open D string and then play the 2nd fret and the 4th fret of the D string with your 2nd and 4th fingers. Open G string and 2nd fret of the G string. Open B string and 1st and 3rd frets of the B string with your 1st and 3rd fingers. Open E string and then 2nd and 3rd frets of that with your 2nd and 3rd fingers. And hopefully you're starting to see a pattern emerge with these open scale shapes. Any note that occurs on the 1st fret, you're going to play with your 1st finger, right? Any note that occurs on the 2nd fret, you'll play with your 2nd finger. Same for the 3rd fret and your 3rd finger, and your 4th fret and your 4th finger. The next open scale we're going to look at is an open G major pentatonic scale, and it can also be thought of as an open E minor pentatonic scale. And I'm using my 3rd finger, just like all the other open scales we did. I'm using my 3rd finger on the 3rd fret and my 2nd finger on all the notes on the 2nd fret.